Nina wasalimu hamjambo wapenzi watazamaji, karibu tena kwenye mwendelezo wa mazungumzo yetu ili niweze kuwapakulia yale ambayo yametendeka, kwa sababu mie ndiye jicho lenu. Baada ya naibu rais Gachagua kuja kwenye televisheni mnamo siku ya Jumatatu tarehe 7 mwezi wa 10 mwaka 2024 na kujieleza kamili kuhusiana na yale makosa ambayo wabunge wameweza kutuhumu kwamba ameweza kuyafanya, kiongozi wa walio wengi bungeni Kimani Ichungwah ameweza kuja kwenye vyombo vya habari na kuambia Gachagua kwamba aache mchezo wa kutafuta huruma za Wakenya, kwa sababu tayari wameweza kupiga kura kwamba ameenda nyumbani. Just imagine, kura ni siku ya Jumanne, lakini siku ya Jumatatu usiku Kimani Ichungwah kupitia kwa kituo kimoja hapa nchini cha NTV aliweza kupiga simu baada ya Gachagua kuweza kuzungumza na kusema kwamba Gachagua hajiheshimu. Gachagua is the former deputy president and Gachagua is gone home. So ladies and gentlemen, ninawaomba muweza kumsikiliza Kimani Ichungwah, the arrogant Kimani Ichungwah, jinsi ambavyo anasema kwamba naibu rais ameenda nyumbani licha kwamba Senate haijaweza kuamua. So Kimani Ichungwah anaashiria kwamba siku ya Jumanne tayari wabunge wamekwisha piga kura na kusema kwamba Gachagua nenda nyumbani. So sasa hivi mahala ambapo Gachagua anafaa kufocus kabisa ni katika bunge la Seneti. So msikilize Kimani Ichungwah, alafu naomba uweze kuniachia maoni yako kupitia kwa kitengo cha commenting section.
Party leader Kimani Ichungwah, a staunch critic of the deputy president. Majority Leader, thanks so much for joining us tonight at this late hour. How do you react to Gachagua's public defense, just literally hours to the debate?
Because the motion of impeachment against the deputy president, pursuant to Articles 145 and 150 of our Constitution, is before the House tomorrow. And in line with our own standing orders, I'm not at liberty to get into the merits and demerits of the impeachment motion. I will have the opportunity to do that when the motion is before the House. But my quick reaction to what the Deputy President had to say tonight is a very belated public playing to the gallery gimmick. He has simply tried to appeal to the court of public opinion, and of course, as you heard him, to the judiciary through the media. And if you listen carefully, he also tried to appeal to the media to support his sympathy-seeking gimmicks. It is the same gimmicks that you saw him exercise yesterday, unfortunately, in a church in his own compound at the official residence of the Deputy President. And it's the same thing that he has carried on with today. He has refused to address the substantive issues that are on the grounds of impeachment. He has gone into great lengths to try and explain the probate issues of the estate of his late brother. And you can count the number of times he has mentioned his late brother, trying to evoke sympathy from Kenyans and probably try and assuade members of parliament from doing and carrying out their constitutional mandate of oversighting his performance as a public officer. And I want to tell Deputy President Gachagua, we are not on a sympathy seeking mission. We are not in the business of listening to his sympathy evoking gimmicks. We will look at the motion, the grounds as they were, because I have read those grounds. They are credible grounds that we will be able to articulate on the floor of the House tomorrow. As I said, I don't want to really dwell onto the merits and demerits of that. But a lot of untruths have been said also, Smithy. And that is the reason why Gachagua tries to tap onto the media and tell the media, praise the media from one end of the mouth, but also have his staffer quickly run to him and tell him, I have been advised that you do not answer any more questions. This tells you and shows a man who is lying to Kenyans on national TV, but does not want to be held to account, not by members of the parliament who are constitutionally mandated to oversight and hold him to account, not by the members of the Fourth Estate that he claims he has a lot of respect for. If Rigathi Gachagua had any respect for anybody to hold him to account, he would at least have allowed members of the Fourth Estate to question him. You cannot speak to the nation for 2 hours and then tell them they cannot question you. I believe the journalists who are seated there also had questions lingering in their minds because they could read through the lies. And let me say, when the mover of the motion articulates its points on the floor of the House, Kenyans will be able to see where the truth lies. It is for the first time I hear that our sons who are in their 30s and probably less than 30, who have never borrowed a loan of even 600,000 shillings, all of a sudden, because you're a son of a deputy president, you can access loans of up to 600 million shillings in 2 years, Smithy. But let's get to that when we get to the floor of the House. The trial chamber is in the Senate. The mover of the motion and his supporting counsel will be able to show Kenyans the kind of person that they are dealing with as their deputy president. And the more reason that all Kenyans must rally behind members of parliament to do their work in oversighting the executive, including Rigathi Gachagua and the president, the executive, and everybody else. Smithy. Therefore, let me say we have our day tomorrow. He has had his 2 hours of live. We will have our day tomorrow, the whole day. And he will also have his 2 hours at the appointed time that he has already been communicated to him. We will accord him the dignity, the silence he requires to address issues, not to come and play to the gallery. And let me tell him early enough, Parliament is not where to come and evoke sympathy. Parliament is where you have been invited to come and address the 11 ground after ground, not evoking sympathy, not playing to the gallery. If Rigathi Gachagua has issues with Adani, he sits in cabinet where these things are articulated. If Rigathi Gachagua has problems with people being moved from the riverfront after Kenyans losing their lives along the Nairobi River, he sat in cabinet. But anyway, let's have our say tomorrow.
Thank you. We will hold it to you that you have said that he will be accorded dignity and silence that he deserves tomorrow. But the Deputy President also said that the accusations laid against him lack evidence and that they are all very generalized. He accused the mover of the motion of that. What is your response to that?
If Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua truly believes that the mover has no evidence, then he has his day tomorrow in the National Assembly. God willing, I want to believe, since we have the numbers to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, he will have his day in the Senate, in the trial chamber, to refute the evidence that will be adduced before the House, before Kenyans, including video evidence, including documentary evidence, and even sworn affidavits and live witnesses who the mover committed when he tabled his motion, that he also be presenting live witnesses. When I hear Rigathi Gachagua, for instance, assert that the Kemsa mosquito net scandal is something that was never involved in, I mean, you just need to listen to the lies in his statement. At the beginning of his statement, he says that when he was elected deputy president, he resigned from companies that he was running, including Crystal Kenya, and handed over those companies, the running of those companies, to his son, directing them to never do business with government. In the same statement, Rigathi Gachagua tells Kenyans that Shobika and Crystal Kenya then tendered in a tender for provision of mosquito nets, a tender that was under the government of Kenya. And you will remember, Kenyans will recall, and let me remind Kenyans if they have forgotten, it took the Global Fund, international donors, to stop that procurement process because the flaws that were involved, because of the fraud that was involved, because of the interference that was involved. And Kenyans that time were asking, who is this who is so powerful that is interfering with tenders and even interfering with the investigative process? Gachagua now is telling you that at the time the tender was advertised, Terry Ramadhan, the CEO Mulwa, who he attempted to interfere with the investigation with, was not the CEO of KEMSA then. I mean, you will see, and Kenyans will see, documentary evidence of screenshots, certified screenshots of phone conversations or phone interactions, text messages from the son of Rigathi Gachagua. These ones were able to borrow 600 million shillings in a span of 2 years, when before they could not borrow even 600,000 shillings. And even phone records of deputy president who says his companies cannot, or companies associated with him cannot do business with government because of conflicts of interest. If that is not evidence, and that's what I'm saying, Rigathi was just trying to preempt by playing to the public gallery, playing to appeal to the courts and the media to side with him, and therefore evoke sympathy. The number of times he referred to his late mother, his late brother, and how hardworking. And I want to agree how I wish Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua would emulate the hard work of his brother and not seek shortcuts in life.
All right. The DP also intimated that it is the President, William Ruto, who sanctioned this impeachment. Would you agree?
Smithy, I'll tell you, I would completely disagree. I am the leader of majority, and when the Honorable Mutuse Ekomas approached me to append my signature to the motion, I read the motion myself and I appended my signature after reading that motion. Members of Parliament do not need the permission of President William Ruto or indeed anybody in the executive to impeach anybody. Members of Parliament simply exercise their oversight mandate in accordance with the Constitution. It is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua who has been appealing to the President, including what he tried to do in church yesterday, belatedly so, to stop a constitutional process spelled out under Articles 145 to 151 of our Constitution. Therefore, we do not need the permission, we do not need the concurrence of President William Ruto. President William Ruto has not appended his signature to either the impeachment motion, nor shall we require him to assent to the motion after it is passed in the House. It is not a bill. I know Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was only in the House for 4 years. He may not have had time to understand what kind of things end up with the President for assent, but maybe just to educate him, motions don't even go to the President for assent. It's only bills of Parliament that then become statutes that need presidential assent. And therefore, we have not had to refer to the President. If anything, Smithy, I can confirm to you, there were rumors last week, and many members of Parliament sent me to tell His Excellency the President that if, in accordance with the rumors, he was convening a parliamentary group meeting to try and stop them from this impeachment process, then he would have to replace the name of Rigathi Gachagua with the name of William Ruto on that motion. Otherwise, they were going to act and nothing was going to stop them. Not even the sympathy-seeking gimmicks of Rigathi Gachagua tonight, yesterday, and even if he comes and sheds tears on the floor of Parliament tomorrow, nothing can stop this motion other than him being able to convince members of Parliament and Kenyans on each of the 11 grounds that have been leveled against him. I heard him say that this was a shareholders' government because there are people who signed agreements. And let me take this opportunity, Smithy, to say it is not true that we did not sign something with President William Ruto, those of us who came from Mount Kenya region. When we settled on Rigathi Gachagua as Deputy President on Sunday, I think 14th May 2022, it was done for Rigathi Gachagua. He didn't care about anything and anybody else. It took about 7 to 8 of us, names I can name, the following week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. to sit with the then Deputy President William Ruto and agree with him, one, on the cabinet positions that would come to the people of Mount Kenya. And I want to confirm to the country that indeed President William Ruto agreed with what we had proposed to him and gave us exactly the cabinet docket that we sought. And we sought cabinet docket not to satisfy the ambitions of individuals. If anything, the only name we put on that list for appointment was the name of Professor Kithure Kindiki as Minister for the Interior. All the others, we put dockets that we thought were crucial to the needs and aspirations of the people of the Mount Kenya region. President William Ruto agreed with us. He signed on that document. I am the one who carried the folder that had that document. After it was signed, I handed over that document to one Professor Kithure Kindiki, who was the custodian of all coalition agreements. And to date, he has that document. Rigathi Gachagua has never seen it because for him, when he got the position that he so desperately got out of blackmail, that was the end for him. He didn't care about anybody else. He didn't care about the region. It is only now that he pretends to care about a region that he believes he can use again as a tool for blackmailing government and blackmailing his boss. Thank you, Smithy.
All right, thank you. I do apologize for the delay in communication between you and I, so I'll put in 2 questions in one. The first part is to just confirm that you're saying that this impeachment was not sanctioned by the president. Of course, you do not need his permission for it to sail through, but I'm asking about the sanctioning. And secondly, what if the deputy president sails through? What next? Of course, that bridge will be crossed when we get there, but give us some insight from your perspective about the what next if the impeachment does not go through.
Smithy, as I have started and as I've said before, we do not need the consent or assent of the president on the impeachment motion. And we never sought his permission. We have not discussed with the president on whether we should go on. And I told you when there were rumors last week that he may call for a parliamentary group meeting. A number of the members of the National Assembly, at least on the Kenya Kwanza coalition side, and quite a number from the opposition, did indicate to me, please tell the president not to attempt to interfere with the workings of parliament, and we will do our work in accordance with the provisions of our constitution and oversight his government, including his deputy president, and even him, we will oversight him. To Smithy, moving on to your second question, I do not see the possibility of this impeachment motion not sailing through. The grounds are solid. The evidence is solid. The deputy president is just trying to evoke sympathy. We will not vote on emotions. We will not vote on sympathy. We will not vote on other considerations as you would have imagined on ethnic grounds or regionalism or sectarian interest. I have heard today a number of members of a few, the less than 30 members of parliament who are in his support have been all over today enticing members with promises that members have said this is bigger than promises, this is bigger than the enticement. And I think from this evening, Kenyans also now do agree with us that it is completely untenable to have one Rigathi Geoffrey Gachagua, former member of parliament for Madera, former DO, and soon to be former deputy president, to continue serving in the high office. A high office that Kenyans bestowed with a lot of honor and dignity to him. But he has shown them in dignity in how he has carried out himself in that office. He has disrespected Kenyans, disrespected the voters he claims who voted for him, disrespected the party that sponsored him as a running mate to William Ruto, and more than anything, attempted to divide our country at a time we needed to be united more than ever before. I do not contemplate, I do not see the possibility of Rigathi Gachagua getting away with the crimes that he has committed, both under national and international law, the contraventions of the Constitution, gross violation of the Constitution that he has engaged in. And in due time, Smithy, is only tomorrow, members of parliament will take their votes. After listening to him, as I said, we will accord him the right to be heard. He does know, like everybody else knows, the Constitution does not have that particular provision that we ought to have given him the right to be heard, but we said in line with our own standing orders, we will accord him the right to be heard. We did engage in very extensive public participation. I've had the unfortunate and reckless statements he have said on national TV about how shambolic the public participation was. But he knows, just like he tried to mobilize Kenyans on the 25th of June to cause violence in the country, he attempted the same sort of mobilization last Friday with the extension that was there on Saturday. You saw there was absolutely no mobilization because it came as a surprise to them. He wasn't prepared for the mobilization. And we have indication, I must say this, that a number of elements around him have attempted to incite Kenyans to do things that are not in the best interest of our peace and tranquility tomorrow. I want to beseech him, just like we have accorded him respectfully time to come and be heard. Let him take his time during the day. Let him listen to the grounds. Let him listen to the contributions, and he will have his time to be listened to and to address all the issues that will have been raised on the floor of Parliament tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. You have made some remarks there that would warrant a right of reply from him, and perhaps he will use the platform tomorrow to respond to a couple of things that you have raised in your last answer. I won't keep you. It's gone past 11 o'clock, and of course, tomorrow is a long day. But my final question to you would be, if indeed Rigathi Gachagua is impeached, who next, in your opinion, who is best placed to replace him?
Smithy, there are 50 million Kenyans in this country, probably half of them adults, many who can fit into that position, and I want to believe the people of Kenya, and of course His Excellency the President, will be able at the right time to identify another Kenyan who can serve in that position with the dignity that is bestowed in the position and that high office of Deputy President. Somebody who will appreciate that, one, he's a symbol of national unity and he is there to serve all Kenyans, irrespective of the language they speak, irrespective of how they voted. And we have many Kenyans, including you, Smithy, probably you should get a sitting with President William Ruto. And so are many other Kenyans, both in the political field and also outside of the political field. I think the president is at liberty to pick any other Kenyan who qualifies. The worst thing that could happen is to continue having somebody of the caliber of Rigathi Gachagua to serve as deputy president.
Wazo lako ni lipi, mpenzi mtazamaji? See you in the next video. Asanteni sana.